In Parliament today, Labor's gone after Angus Taylor again, the Energy Minister and Minister for Emissions Reduction. But in the Senate just this afternoon, Angus Taylor's narrowly avoided having this all referred to a Senate inquiry. Pauline Hanson and Corey Bernardi on the crossbench ensuring that there won't be a Senate inquiry. That move was defeated by just one vote. Labor, nonetheless, are trying to keep the pressure on Angus Taylor. This is all about a meeting a couple of years ago he held with the Environment Department in relation to an environmental listing affecting farmland in his electorate, including a farm he had an indirect interest in through a family trust. Now, he says he followed all the rules. He didn't have to disclose specifically that farm, but Labor's not convinced that other farmers were also concerned. They suspect this was all about trying to protect his own financial interests. More from Brendan Smith.
Angus Taylor, yet again, Labor's question time target.
My question is to the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction. My question is to the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction. And my question is again to the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction.
Angus Taylor in the spotlight for lobbying in 2017 to have protections for endangered grasslands watered down. At the same time, a company called Jamland that he had indirect links with was under investigation for doing just that. The minister says he was advocating for his constituents like frustrated farmers, not himself.
They demonstrated deep concerns about the impact of this listing on their farming operation.
But Labor casting doubts over Angus Taylor's constituents' concerns, pointing to the lack of any concerns sent in writing to his office.
Did the Minister receive a single letter from any constituent about the grasslands listing?
And I spoke with a series of farmers across my electorate and elsewhere.
This is about any constituent correspondence. Any at all will do. Was there a single person who wrote to him?
The minister, though, is defiant, declaring there was no conflict of interest in meeting with the Environment Department, despite the indirect family company connection.
If the Register of Interest were required to record minority non-controlling interests held at 3 levels down in a family company structure, this would be a major change to current practice.
But where Greens and Labor see a scandal, One Nation didn't see a smoking gun. The Greens-Labor push to have a Senate inquiry into Angus Taylor's conduct fell short.
There being 32 ayes and 33 noes, the matter is resolved in the negative.
I support Angus Taylor because not an investigation into him, have an investigation into these natural grasses, and they're shutting down the farming sector.
Industrial relations will also dominate discussion this week with new laws the government are branding union-busting bills. The Ensuring Integrity Bill, which makes it easier to deregulate rogue unions and ban law-breaking officials, is opposed by Labor, meaning the government will again need to rely on crossbench support when it reaches the Senate.
Well, we're discussing the matters with the crossbench, but, there's nothing set in stone at the present point in time.
The stage set for yet another Senate showdown where Jackie Lambie once again could prove make or break. Brendan Smith, Sky News, Canberra.
We'll come back to the union-busting bills, as they're called, but first on Angus Taylor. As you heard, his argument today was he was representing the views of farmers in his electorate. And pressed on which farmers, he cited one near Yass, who had raised concerns with him towards the end of February in 2017 about this environmental listing, make it hard to kill weeds and have a viable running farm. Labor's not convinced this farmer or any other farmers really did have concerns, and certainly Angus Taylor hasn't been able to name the farmer. He says he doesn't want to put that name out into the public for fear of animal rights activists or some other activists raiding his property. Labor's concern here is that, their suspicion is that this is just Angus Taylor trying to protect his own financial interests through the impact this listing had on his own property or the property his family has a stake in. Spoke to Terry Butler, the Shadow Environment Minister, earlier about this. Are you saying he's making that up?
Well, I'm saying he's changed his story now about why that meeting was held quite a few times. His original position was he had no association with Jamland, which is the company at the centre of this controversy. He then tried to tidy that up by claiming that what he had meant was that he had no association with the compliance investigation that was undertaken in relation to Jamland. He then claimed that really the reason for the meeting was a letter, which when we saw it was 6 months after the meeting.
This is from the New South Wales Farmers Association. Yep.
Yeah, so the letter was dated October, the meeting was in March. We then had another story that said it was actually prompted by yet another letter, a letter from 2014, and we've obviously now heard that a bloke near Yass had raised the concern with him.
Labor wants to keep the pressure on Angus Taylor here, but as mentioned, with the Senate voting against a special inquiry into this, Labor will just have to resort to keep doing what it's been doing. That's asking questions in question time. How it will be able to sustain this without any new evidence, new information, it's hard to see. But privately, it's pretty happy that it's been able to run this issue for as long as it has over the past week anyway.